Hey, it's Wassarian. Take that scum. Look at who it is. All of this is his fault. All of it. Abelard reflexively wipes the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture. And a telling one. A rare moment where he allows his age and weariness to show through his armor like veneer of self-assurance. The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes I dearly regret that we cannot replace all the locals with servitors. They were shouting your name. Of course they are. The organization of the daily routine life of the ship rests upon my shoulders. The mountain of challenges and problems from which I endeavor to insulate you, Lord Captain. The situation on the lower decks has been a cause for concern, and I have intervened personally on more than one occasion. And that must be why they remember me. They do not know your face. To them, you're akin to a creature of legend. One who has stood on the steps of the Golden Throne, no less. Whereas I am the man whose name is attached to every order docking rations or lowering a bay's heating. So the arcane cybernetic artifact that... okay, perfect. So they dared to respect a senior officer? They would not have had the chance to express such disrespect if we were not here, and if the situation had been dealt with by the relevant officers, Abelard grimaces. It is a junior officer's worst failing to pass problems up the chain of command. I have never been able to abide it. I shall say it again. It was a mistake to come here on Lieutenant Vent's whims, Lord Captain. I must admit that the lieutenant is by no means the worst material for an officer. By no means. But in the name of Terra, the girl is the same age as my eldest great-granddaughter. And she has the gall to tell me how to manage the lower decks and hunt down pirates? It'll be another 20 years at least before she can be trusted to act without oversight. Let's keep moving. This is gonna be interesting. 100% interesting. I guess we'll go this way first. Greetings, Your Grace. So there's a door there we can open. Oh, what is that? A container can be seen beyond the massive bars. Examining the pipe will allow you to reach it. Valve?
It's about time.
Apparently I can't... Oh, is... Okay. So that... Emperor save us and keep this... is depressing. Okay. Well, that's depressing, apparently. Something is depressing him. Oh, no! That happened again. Okay. If you've ever played Skyrim, every time she says victory awaits, the only thing I can hear in my head is victory or something. Especially if you've watched my Skyrim Let's Play with Avery, that might sound kind of familiar to you. Let's do that. Inside the box, a string is scratched, different letters strung along the edge, different first names, same surname. Box has been passed down in the family from generation to generation. That's actually kind of cool. I don't feel like I want to see what's in here, but I'm not going to take anything. What is this? A sacred set of oils provides an additional opportunity to call out machine spirit and interact. Honestly, I feel bad. Like, the RPGer in me does not like the idea of, like, Tessera going around and, like, stealing from people who really don't have anything to give. So we're going to kind of go with that instinct for now. I know that there are loot-hungry people, nobles from the upper decks down here to see us. Yes, we are here. Are probably dying on the inside, and I can appreciate that because kind of sort of same. Relax, old man. Going for a stroll in the lower decks every once in a while is good for you. Lets you see how the simple folk live. I like it that Adira needles him at every opportunity. Here we are. The sounds of a heated discussion reverberate through the ship's bays. Lieutenant Avarilla Vent of the ship's enforcers is barring the path of a heavily built assault unit officer, and judging by their expression and tone, the standoff has dragged on for some time already, and has now reached a boiling point. I have my orders to put an end to the unrest and purge this sector. You can take your orders and shove them. This is my deck and my sector. There are only 3 people who can waltz in here without my express permission. The first officer, the rogue trader, and the Emperor himself. So not all my lessons fall on deaf ears, Abelard mutters in a crabby approval. He does not clarify whether he means Lieutenant Vent, the officer looming over her, or both. Your ladyship! Noticing you, the two junior officers snap to attention and salute. Their subordinates follow suit a moment later. Give the assault. All right, what's the situation? Your ladyship, so deal with the striking workers. Okay. Your ladyship, my people have locked down the bay where the strikers are, including their leaders. We have the situation under control as far as resources allow. We encountered some locals on the way here. Their conduct was absolutely outrageous. She pales slightly. The people are getting desperate, clearly. They saw the assault unit and they decided they had nothing left to lose. I mean, I apologize, Lord Captain. It is outrageous. I'm sure the people simply didn't recognize you. It wouldn't have occurred otherwise. We will deal with them once the current situation is resolved. Interesting. Are you sure? Is that all you have to say? Are you sure? I'm kind of curious. I normally wouldn't go down this route, but I'm really interested to see what the response is. Is that all you have to say? Are you sure you're worthy of an officer's rank, Lieutenant? Her vent pales slightly, but straightens and clips out. Forgive me, Lord Captain. I'll take steps to ensure such things does not happen again. I want to speak to the strikers. His mouth twists, but he restrains himself and says nothing. Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck. I am very curious as to how much of a mistake I'm making. Because I can't lie. Okay, this was just an elevator. I can't lie. It feels like I'm making a huge mistake not trusting Abelard and letting him handle this. But you know what? Let's see what happens. A dozen pairs of eyes stare apprehensively at you. The people before you are typical inhabitants of the lower decks. You take their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying levels of mutation, from barely discernible to strange to outright grotesque. A whisper passes through the crowd, and you detect a mixture of fear and astonishment and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from the crowd, an elderly woman and 2 men. These must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you. Lord Captain, you've come down to see us. Why are you striking? Striking? That's news to us, your ladyship, says a tall, thin man in worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think. Shut up, beanpole, snaps the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you. Here's the deal, your ladyship. Your damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they're looking for pirates. One wrong word and they're reaching for their batons. If they want to punish someone, they turn off the heating to the whole base for a week at a time, so we get sick and freeze. In my clan, 2 little ones died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers. The old woman spits on the floor and rubs at the spittle with the toe of her worn-out shoe. Argenta does not interrupt the workers, but you see the sadness well in her eyes. When the children's deaths are mentioned, she quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. It's all true. Vent is the only enforcer officer who stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks and who grew up amidships and has no fellow feelings towards us. The grim man with scarred face throws up his arms. Your ladyship, we're no villains here. We're honest workers, your servants. We've plotted no disorder. We went on strike openly, and now we've got guns pointed at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace without being harassed. The person should start nothing you say. I was told that one of you was found in possession of a cultist amulet and that there are pirates hiding here. A cultist amulet? What's that? The gewgaw they found on the dead drunkard? If it's something evil or forbidden, we sure didn't know. The enforcers just said they were looking for pirates among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. How could there be pirates here? We know our own people. There have been no new faces around. Definitely not, and if there were, we'd be the first to report them. And as for this amulet, or whatever it is, they took it off the dead body. There are no pirates still breathing in our sector, that's for sure. But when that fight broke out, some enterprising folks looted the bodies. The boots they came back with, nobody's ever treated these decks and boots. Treaded these decks and boots so fine. I can tell you that. Seems to me these pirates have better commanders than us. Oh yeah, those boots were really fine, and there was no harm in taking them, right? As for the amulet, it must have been pocketed by someone who didn't know any better. We don't need any amulets around here. We all worship the Emperor. And when we're working, we bow down before the machine spirits of the large and small transformers and the servo motor. The same way my grandfather was taught 100 years ago by a tech priest who came calling. Believe us, your ladyship, we are people of faith. Naive children, were you taught from an early age about the dangers of the Arch Enemy's creations? Weren't you warned that any unfamiliar object could be one of them? We were told, Holy Sister, but it was long ago. The last time we saw a confessor in our sector, it was just after I'd had my third little one. That is regrettable, but you cannot lay the burden of leading a righteous life on the shoulders of the Holy Fathers. Who will you blame when the beasts crawl out of those amulets you stole from the heretics? The Holy Father who was not there, or the scavenger who brought the evil down on himself and his neighbors? Abelard, you want to add anything? I authorize the use of all necessary measures to locate chaos worshippers hiding in this sector. The specific steps taken by the officers were not reported to me. He frowns, clearly disgruntled at having to explain himself. Nevertheless, I am certain that their actions were justified. Heretic pirates are no drunken stevedores. They are the enemy and a threat to the ship. Neutralizing them demanded decisive action. So what changes? Oh, we were attacked on the way here. How do you explain that? Here's an explanation for you. The people have been pushed to their limit, and now they're lashing out, as if we don't know why these top deck units are being sent down here. Like that one there that the lieutenant won't let pass. Our clans are all inside the bay that's been sealed off, but the lower decks are big. I'm sure there are some people who have had just about enough. We're getting it from all sides. The soldiers have encircled the ones who've risen up. Death Squad has just arrived. It's wonder folks are lashing out. You're too tense, and they're too for you to... Okay, unfortunately, the awareness check failed. So what changes do you want? Would you look at that? The exalted Lord Captain herself is asking us rats what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your damned enforcers, to quit turning off the heat, and to stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want enforcers gone from here. We want to be armed. Give us arms, and we'll govern ourselves. We'll defend ourselves if these pirates do show their faces. I've been leader of my clan for 20 years. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here. You've gone too far, old man. They'll never let the maggots on the lower decks live without the enforcers breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on enforcers on the upper decks too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day's out, we'll have someone shooting their neighbors out of stupidity or drunkenness. We don't need that. If the enforcers stop hassling us, that'll be enough. In return, we'll find the scavengers who robbed the pirates' bodies. We'll talk to them, one lower deck to another. If there are any other of those damned amulets, Bart, we'll hand them over to the enforcers ourselves. You speak for yourself and your clan. I'll speak for me and mine. I don't want empty gestures. I want real change. They'll promise us the world now, but as soon as the anointed one turns her back, these brutes will be on us even harder than before, all because we dared to speak out. The tall worker's eyes dart between the two arguing leaders. Every few seconds he opens his mouth as if planning to agree, but each time falls silent, simply making a few vague noises of approval. 60%, let's try it. Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons into untrained hands would be even worse. What's more, the enforcers are needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw those demands and we consider the rest. Actually, Abelard, your thoughts? The story about going scavenging for boots and accidentally picking up a heretical amulet doesn't convince me. These people were moments away from rebelling and possibly becoming minions of the archenemy. We must not give them what they want, even if they did acquire something innocently, purely out of their own stupidity. That does not mean they are not tainted with corruption. What begins as petty thievery can turn into far graver problems. I've seen it before. In my second war, there was a sergeant in the Imperial Guard regiment that was stationed nearby. The sergeant took an ordinary pocket knife from the body of a heretic. His whole unit lost their lives for it. When they finally managed to break into the barracks, they found not a single survivor, only a pocket knife, which had grown through all the rows of beds like metal choking vine. So when it comes to scavengers, malcontents, strikers, or whatever they'll turn into next, my verdict is simple. Give them no quarter. I'll give the order. Let's try the coercion. I'm kind of curious. We'll consider it. Succeed. The tall worker they call Beanpole shrugs, cast alongside of the old woman. Old man, listen. Listen. The Lord Captain herself has come down to us and is offering concessions. And I don't know a single person in the whole of Depot 4 who ever stood next to a rogue trader, let alone talk to one. Back down. Now's no time for you to be a stubborn old crone. Listen to us, old man. 3 clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made up our minds. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband the enforcers and give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You two are ganging up on me, is that it? So brave you are against an old woman, but I'll shut up. I will indeed. I won't go against 2 clan leaders on my own. If you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your peace. That's great. Just fantastic. Lord Captain, we're all agreed. So then you can say, then it's decided. The persecution will stop. I will expect you to assist in locating any remaining amulets or weapons left by the pirates. Or you failed to convince me of your trustworthiness. This unrest ends now. Everyone who's involved will be eliminated. Honestly, this is a tough one. I feel like Tessera has been more on the benevolent side, obviously, and she's definitely been nicer all the way around. So I think I just want to see what happens. I definitely want to see Abelard's reaction to this and just the reaction in general and how much of a consequence this is. So let's try it. Your ladyship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. I'll tell my grandchildren about this. Of course, your ladyship will root out the nasty business faster than the enforcers and will leave no stone unturned. Is complete bedlam. I'm sorry. I'm really not, though. It's complete bedlam. Are you satisfied, Lord Captain? Then may I suggest we leave this circus and discuss everything en route. Okay. He's mad. He's definitely mad at me. I have no regrets, though. I'm very, very curious to see what happens next. So stopping unexpectedly, he imperiously dismisses a unit to stand at the distance and addresses your other companion, saying, I have an urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Give us a moment. Oh! Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtowed to the disloyal rabble. You believed their lies and showed them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by pirates, that rabble will welcome them with open arms and allow them to wreak whatever havoc they like because they see you as a weak leader. Is that how you see your future at the helm of the Von Valencia's protectorate? There is some truth. Let's talk about your role in this instead. You allowed this revolt to happen. Your actions practically guaranteed it would. Let's not... I solved the problem. Ooh. Huh. Like, there is some truth to his criticism, right? We did. Like, You know what? Let's try it. I should say so. You simply needed to trust me. I would have handled the situation myself had you not decided to intervene. Remember, Lord Captain, Theodora, do you think she ever set one slippered foot on the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers while she dedicated herself to the grand designs of the Protectorate, as any true strategist and rogue trader ought to. Maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There's a new Lord Captain aboard the ship and I will not repeat her mistakes. I would be only too willing to trust the Seneschal and not fill my head with such matters, but the situation has spiraled out of your control. Give me a reason why I should continue listening to your advice and trusting your judgment. Right now, no, I'm going with 1. He looks at you stunned and exhales loudly. Then he nods curtly. I commend your decisiveness, but I am uncomfortable with introducing new protocols in the midst of a crisis. So this is good. I think that this is a really good set of dialogue, right? Like, he's seeing it. He's seeing what you're saying in part, and he's just not comfortable doing it now. And I can understand that, right? I definitely don't think necessarily right now is the right time for Tessera to handle this situation. If things had been normal, if we weren't down, well, we have a navigator now, but an engine seer, and if we weren't down just a whole bunch of people, right? This probably would have made more sense to have happen and having Tessera intervene if this was just kind of like a normal working day on the rogue trader ship. But we're in the midst of a crisis. So I can see that, and I definitely get what he's saying, but I do like that he's trying to work with you on this. And I lost my temper, Lord Captain. I believe I ought to explain myself. He speaks slowly, the words not coming out easily. The prosperity of the Von Valencia's protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for a chance to see it flourish. It was the most monumentous decision of my life. I did it because I saw in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture worlds, they create order out of anarchy. That creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. So I left behind everything I had known, everything my family had known. I came from a long line of officers. I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all the concerns she had no time for. She'd go off on her flagship for long periods to distant frontiers on scouting voyages. The advancement of the entire protectorate rested on my shoulders. And then suddenly, everything that had been built over the years and years began to quake, rattling like a flimsy hanger on a seismically active world. One of the senior officers betrayed us all. The rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on the planets. I tell you this honestly, without fear of appearing weak. All this has come at a grievous blow to me. I'm not panicking or grieving because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I am duty bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you, to find your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out in the ship's regulations. Procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades cannot suddenly be deemed excess to requirements. This is like, I love how much like he's opening up and how much we're able to basically like come to an understanding now. So I don't like this first option. Basically she died. I won't make the same mistake. If you want to keep building the future, stop living in the past. So I understand, but you need to learn how to respect me as your Lord Captain and Rogue Trader. Accept it and start living in the new world, a world where Theodora is gone and where you and I have new decisions to make. Or the prosperity of the Von Valencia's protectorate is just as important to me. You're the only person who has comprehensive knowledge of how things are run on the ship. I think in the future I'll follow your recommendations. I value what Theodora created, and I trust that this situation is an aberration in the ship's otherwise smooth operations. Since the established procedures are working, I see no reason to change them. I've seen plenty of sentiment and handwriting in recent days, but very little competent. No, I don't want that one. I'm torn between, I need you to learn to respect, like, I'm torn between 2 and 4. I trust that the situation, no, sorry, 2 and 4 maybe? Yeah, I value what Theodora created, and I trust the situation is, yeah, otherwise smooth operations, and, all right, like, I feel like we already started down this road. Let's finish it. I understand, but you need to learn how to respect me as your Lord Captain and Rogue Trader. Accept it and start living in the new world, a world where Theodora is gone and you and I, like, so we have new decisions to make, right? Like, I like that this is a we situation, whereas I feel like one puts everything solely on you and makes you the star of the show. But what you're learning is that this ship does not run without him. None of this works without him. He solemnly inclines his head. Lord Captain, after a moment he adds, looking at you with interest. Your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment should my old habits ever begin to creep back in. Oh, looking at you with interest. Interest. Oh, like the smoochy kind of interest or some other kind. How? Oh. 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 Sometimes I think in the want to not hurt somebody's feelings, it's natural to kind of placate them and stuff like that. But I really like that you're almost getting, like, I think we saw this with Argenta too, that she liked when we were strong in our first initial meeting. We went with an answer that seemed a little bit more like, not aggressive, but you know what I mean? Like, it was a little bit more, I am the Rogue Trader, respect me. And this is kind of what we did here. And your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. So through this, even though it's not the outcome he wanted, or us for that matter, we're learning to work together in this new world. And now please let us leave the lower decks. If Rogue Trader desires to stretch her legs, there are far more suitable places. Okay. Yeah, I really like the way that ended. That was really good.
I help others better themselves by wholeheartedly humiliating them at every step.
You do, honey. You do. You do like to do that. Yes. Assisted study. I want that. I saw that on stream today and I was like, oh, I need it. Perception. I probably should level up the other thing soon too, but that's fine. Sworn enemy. Right. Let's do reckless strike. And 50 and 50. Let's do athletics. Perfect. All right. Let's head back to the top of the ship now. All right. So, I think that this means that we can now go to the world that we were trying to go to before, because we dealt with the rabble. The common rabble, if you will. They're really not, but you know what I mean. Let's go in. Dun dun. So, I think I've met this person before. I don't know who this is, and I feel like there's one companion missing from this artwork. But I forget. So we'll find out. dun. Oh, the music changed. Is that a good sign or a bad sign? Starport, this is Von Valencia's shuttle. Prepare landing pad and a ceremonial escort. I don't think they got time for a ceremonial escort. What did we walk into? Okay. The starport greets you with the din of ordnance and the smell of explosives tickling your nostrils. It is difficult to tell who is firing on whom in all the smoke. Halt! Weapons on the ground or I'm firing! A man in dirty, torn uniform hobbles towards you from behind the chunks of rockcrete and crumpled plasteel. His cracked helmet is adorned with a crooked label that reads Sergeant Malgar. All right, so our skies are on lockdown. The rebels are shooting down anything that flies. And you lot just happened to land in our rear without a scratch to show for it. On a shuttle like that, no less. Where'd you get it? You stole it from the palace, didn't you? Grab 'em, lads. We've got ourselves a rebel landing force. Dare you on your knees before I blow your brains out? Okay. Honestly, if you were going to play that kind of... Like, if you wanted to play this sort of character, they're giving you, like, fantastic lines to deal with. I am Rogue Trader Von Valencius. Give me a status report now. A mixture of awe and terror, he snaps to attention and raises his freshly cut chin like an exemplary soldier and barks, "My mistake, ma'am, at once. The star report is under control of the governor's warden. Perimeter command is Sergeant..." Frag grenade explosion cuts off the rest. Shards fly everywhere with a piercing screech. One of the soldiers falls to the ground, clutching the remains of his forearm that is now adorned with crimson tatters. Blood is pouring out of the stump, and the soldier's agony is short-lived. The sergeant curses and hastily says an army prayer for the dead. "Pardon me, ma'am. Sergeant Malgar reporting. My unit is holding the starport on the governor's orders. How may I serve?" What is going on? "Unrest, ma'am. An armed rebellion in both the capital and the province. First, the lower level sparked, and then it went up spires. They hit the Vox hubs, the arsenals, and the mag train stations. My unit was here when it all went to Grox as the tech priests in charge of the satellite data reported some strange void ships appearing in the system. They stayed near the star before one of them headed out to land on Ricad Majoris. The governor took precautionary measures in order to increase security for key facilities. Everyone knows that whenever something's not right, you better double the warden details. The alarm was raised and we were sent to secure the starport. It's the only reason we were able to hold. There is fighting in the capital, but we're holding strong, giving no quarter to the rebels. Emperor, protect us." Rebellion cost for such a pallid welcome. No, pat him on the shoulder. You're doing good work. And so are your troops. People like you are what are holding the Imperium together. I live to serve, the grim voices marked with a martyr's pride. Do you happen to know if a member of the Inquisition has arrived? At the word Inquisition, the sergeant's face fills with awe. "I don't know, ma'am. There definitely haven't been any visitors like that on my watch. You might have inquired at the headquarters. I'm off to see the governor then." "If I may report, ma'am, as long as the rebels keep shooting their damned cannons, there's absolutely no way to take you to the governor by shuttle. It would have to be on foot. The streets are dangerous. I have no one to send you with as an escort. I assigned all available troops to accompany the esteemed tech priest to the governor. I'll Vox cast orders to wait for you, and I'll inform the headquarters they better send out a convoy to meet you halfway. Meanwhile, we'll follow the governor's orders and hold the line." Adira frowns as she looks not at the sergeant, but rather through him. "You're a good soldier. You've got a lot of blood on you, both yours and that of others. You know, the hand that salutes now falters in darkness. Apollots won't save you from the bitterness." "Pardon me, lady. I don't rightly understand these fancy words you're saying. I see plenty of blood, sure, but trust me, I'll fight till my last drop." "What tech priest?" "A very important character from the Adeptus Mechanicus. He arrived on the last shuttle before they locked down the sky. Kept asking about some Amarant or Armanat, but whether or not anyone by that name arrived recently. Barely answered any of our questions, though. Said he was under no obligation to tell us anything. He demanded to talk to the governor, so I had to send a quarter of my troops to keep him out of trouble." "Has left you for dead. No, a good fighter would have long since reclaimed the starport. Move out." "No, you're a good trooper. Tell the others of your... is the path ahead dangerous?" "No, I'll tell the others of your heroism." He blushes slightly. "I live to serve." Another explosion interrupts the sergeant's words. With a sigh of relief, he turns to his warden and spits out a booming series of commands. Okay. It's great. This is great here. Really excited. Really excited. I'm glad that we were able to do this together. You know, just to kind of see what's happening. It's fine. This is great. This is really and truly what you want, I feel like, when you're out on vacation to a place like this, you know? Offhand shot. Rapid fire. Next marksman burst at yeah, let's try that. Okay. Oh no, do I have to do the whole thing? Limited selection of advancement paths for the leader for the second half of the version content if you plan. Okay. Interesting. So let's do, she's a 6. Let's do, is she fully leveled? Oh. Cancel. Wait. Oh, I see. It's showing me what to pick. Yeah. Return. Cancel. I don't understand. Oh, I didn't apply this. Whoops-a-doodle. Okay, we're in battle too. Good. I was hoping we would be.